Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's continuation of Spotlight on Autism. And tonight we have Nathaniel and Dinah. They are back again to join us. Today we're going to have a conversation with Nathaniel and his mom for an honest conversation about identity, independence, and growth. Nathaniel is a young businessman and an autistic adult who has been navigating the challenges of fitting in both socially and in the business world while learning who he truly is. So, how are you doing this evening, you guys?
Doing good. We're recuperating from an event yesterday, but we're doing well.
Doing good. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I'm kind of tired too. I've been working around the house trying to clean up for the holidays.
Yeah. For
Mhm.
us, it's working our inventory, what didn't sell for the Christmas holiday, because yesterday was our last event.
Oh,
So,
okay.
and my
Busy,
house
busy.
is a big giant mess because there's boxes everywhere.
Mm,
So we were working on moving that out of the way and doing stuff, but it's all part of we're learning what the business is about. And
yeah.
um,
Well,
with Nathaniel, he's learning a lot and actually teaching me in some ways because him starting his business, he started it when he was about 16. It
Okay,
was right.
well, let's get it. Let me ask Nathaniel, navigating adulthood in your business. Why don't you share that, and then we'll let mom
Yes.
chime
So I started when I was in high school. So I did collectible restoration, sale, and data collection. So I would always go to the flea markets that were near with my Nino, and I always do like collecting and everything, trying to figure out what's is the oldest and what has the most theoretical value out of it.
So
in.
how are you as an adult now? You did that when you were younger, and now you're an adult. How does that feel? Is what I think she's asking.
Oh,
Mm.
really hasn't changed since doing that. So good. I'm able to
Hasn't.
spend on larger amounts, I guess.
Okay. So, what are your thoughts on it, Dinah?
Well,
Hey,
I always used to joke around about his obsessions, that they
uh-huh.
were like almost a weekly thing. And it was, for me, it was, trying to figure out, okay, I said to Nathaniel, he wanted to do cotton candy and he wanted to do all these ventures. And I said, give me a plan. And the one thing about autism, uh, and I just think it's across the board, that when they get their minds to doing something,
Mhm.
they, that fear factor is not there. They just go straight for it. And I think it doesn't matter what level. If they're determined to do something, they're going to do it.
Oh
So
yeah,
with
for sure.
him, I said, give me a plan of action. Let me know what you're trying to do, and then maybe I can help you. But
Mhm.
way before, his plan of action, I get home and there's like all the material for whatever he's doing. So he really plans things out, but I think it's because he can concentrate on what he likes
Okay.
and then shoots forward. So his obsessions actually ended up being money makers for him, whether it's collecting pennies, because that's what he started out with, was collecting coins. And then he
Oh,
started to collect comics, and then it just evolved into other things. So I always say, if you have a child that likes to collect something, don't downgrade it, because you never know, in 2 years from now those things could be like money makers.
yeah, yeah. Now, how does he do? Um, or either one of you could answer. How does he do in social settings when it comes to the business? When it comes to the business, how is he around customers and?
Well, I've heard a lot of people say, once they know that that's my son, because we're always side by side,
Mhm.
and they would always say he's very knowledgeable in the item that he's talking about, whether it's a Funko Pop or an Aztec whistle or whatever, and he
Okay.
gets involved in it. But it's very one sided, because in the business you always have to look and see who your other customers and what they want, and
Mhm.
I think it's hard for him to transition sometimes out of that dialogue with one customer to move on to others as well.
Right.
So that's also part of, being very determined to discuss
Mhm.
thoroughly about the product you're selling. And I think he is starting to learn, because the biggest thing for me is they don't really catch like facial expressions. Like if someone's like, okay, like you
Right.
explained it enough, and then wants to just walk away. Um, I think he's learning to be better about it.
Okay.
I don't think he sees himself because he's doing it.
Mhm.
But the reason why we do side by side is so that I can come in and say to another customer, do you need something? Like, to help him know, because I have no idea. In his mind, he has his own pricing list. He knows, the year, the make, the model. I'm just
Those are
like, here,
things by heart.
I'm just trying to help you.
Mm.
So,
Does he? Do you, Nathaniel? So let me ask you: when you are around your customers or potential buyers, um, do you start to feel that anxiety build up and just
No,
no? You're comfortable
it's
all
usually
the
just down to
time.
a script that I repeat multiple times to multiple people. So it's just
You
I don't
feel
know how
fine.
overcomplicated it can be, you know what I mean? So it's just simply just rephrasing it multiple times. Usually it's the difference between making a sale, because really it's just the time of year that I'm, you know, I mean, it's like feast or famine. So
Okay.
really it comes down to the time of year.
Well, I think that he has learned to certain dialogue,
Okay.
because it's not he can start a conversation now where before it was more difficult. We were at an event, and then, the gentleman came over, was looking at his stuff, and then Nathaniel made a comment about, oh, that jacket looks like this character and that. So
Mhm.
he engaged that gentleman in a
Okay.
conversation that wasn't really businesslike, but ended up being businesslike, because now the guy's like, oh, we have something in common, kind of thing. So I think that helps him in a lot of perspective, because the items that he sells, I say kids of all ages because it's Pokemon and Funko Pops
Oh
and
yeah.
sports, you know,
Yeah.
things. And so all ages come in, even women.
Mm.
So he's trying to engage more by bringing up a conversation on something. Then he has a lot of repeat customers too, which I have to
Awesome.
monitor, because you can't tell the age
Okay.
on some of the girls.
Okay. Okay.
And I actually had to ask one of my vendor friends, that was her daughter. I'm like, how old is she? She's like 17. But she's very engaging with Nathaniel, and they seem to get well together, and they have common interests. But there is
Uh,
an age gap,
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
so. But
Hmm.
other than that, he's attracted to a lot of people, and depending on the event, we did some events where he put his cowboy hat on and his leather coat, and he's doing his own thing. So I think he is trying to engage more on the events,
Okay.
right, Nathaniel?
Yeah.
Mm. So I know you started collecting things, but what was Nathaniel? What was that one thing you picked up when you were younger that said, this is something I want to keep doing? Do you remember?
Probably.
When you earned your first money, I think that's what
That
started.
was the first.
Yeah. Yeah, probably when I earned my first money. Yeah.
Okay. So Dinah, would you say he's obsessed with those things or collecting?
Well, I would say that he continues with desiring other things, and so I have to rein him in, because he has a lot of stuff.
A lot of
And
stuff.
so, I don't know if it's if it's on the borderline of hoarding, or what. I only have so much space, but he's always interested in growth. And the
Okay.
problem is that we really don't have the capacity for all the things that he wants to do.
Got to get
And
a warehouse eventually, huh?
well, that's what he really wants to do, is get a storage area so he can store some of these things. So he does have like a future mindset of where he
Okay.
wants to be. He wants to get a van. He wants to get, and I keep telling him things are not going to happen right away. So that's where the
Right.
anxiety comes in, where he wants things right now. He wants a van. He wants storage to put his things in. He wants to accumulate um, his business. But
Okay.
we have to start out small
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
work our way up, and that's where the anxiety hits in, because he wants to be there already.
Okay.
And then
So
the
Nathaniel.
challenge of, do we want to make ourselves an LLC? Do we want, that's one of the issues about starting a business,
Yeah.
especially
Decisions.
if you're trying to collect Social Security.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You
Definitely.
know, that hampers his ability, because he can make some good money.
Mm.
And, they do look at your checking account.
Income. Hmm.
And so I'm reluctant to do it, because
Right.
Nathaniel, I don't want to take his earning capability away. I mean, he
Yeah.
sold one item and he made 14,000 on that. Now, if he was on Social Security, we'd be paying them back.
Right. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, I
That
mean,
is awesome.
some of these items that he has they have value. So
Okay.
that's why I don't want to deter him from it. And he gets very, when he
Yeah, despite what she says and how it makes me seem like a bit smaller and everything in life, just
not small, it's just
yeah, I'll just
he's he has items that are like on a grand scale potential dollar makers. And he
Okay.
always feels like I'm trying to minimize it, like, you're a small business, but the more money you make, you have to think about, you know, becoming an LLC or something, so
Yeah.
you're not liable for things.
Right. Right.
So that's where the borderline not understanding like the legalities behind things. Like when we do the events, sometimes you have to sign contracts, which is why I initiate it.
Okay.
Even contacting events and setting us up, for it. But
Mm.
he basically designs his own area. He knows what he's selling, and puts up the shelving and does his own setup and does his own breakdown, which can be tedious after a while. With him having spinal stenosis, carrying all these items, plus
Oh wow.
helping me carry mine,
Okay.
because his adventure into the business world, we as a family wanted to support him.
Of
So
course.
my daughter started doing jewelry, and my
Hmm.
other daughter started doing candles.
Okay.
And then I started doing some arts and crafts so we can kind of support him, like with the things that he was starting out doing. And then eventually we just branched off, let him have his own business, and we
Okay.
were just like co-sharing
Okay.
because we wanted to support the autism community
Hmm.
and giving him his own identity.
Right. Is independence in business.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Hmm.
With still a little bit of monitoring.
Of course. Yeah. So Nathaniel, besides the building of shelves and organizing, since you've been in this business, what kind of other skills have you learned? What kind of knowledge have you gained from the business you're into?
Catalog making, the ability of learning different chemicals to clean, just in general picking up schematics from different marketplaces too as well. Of course, I don't have a 3D printer, so I'm not able to pretty much build any of the schematics that I have, but a lot of the ideas that I do have in making more funds and such. So sort of limited right now. Hopefully, I'm hoping that I'm able to gain new abilities to do that, or the sort of privilege, or the leverage to do that. But with it comes time.
Well, Nathaniel, how do you feel when you don't earn what you want to when you're at an event? And I think that's part of
It
what.
ultimately depends on the events that we go to. Normally, when we go to events, it's more towards the warmer parts of the season. Just depends on the event that we go to in general.
So he's learning.
Okay.
I always call it feast or famine. Like
Mm.
he didn't do well these past couple events. And
Okay.
even though there were children present, I think part of our problem here in Chicago is ice.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of cancellations in predominantly Hispanic areas where these events are being held.
Yeah.
So that has decreased participation for customers.
Okay.
And so, like the one that we did yesterday, actually the weekend, one was at a school and one was at a district. We Last year when we did it, there we had great business, which is why we decided to do it again. But
Okay.
we had very little customers come in. So I think right now all businesses are impacted by some of these political things happening,
Yeah.
which
It's sad.
I'm
So
trying to
much
get
is
him to
going on.
understand it's not his
Mhm.
product, it's just customers.
Right. Right.
So yeah,
Yep.
he gets a little.
Absolutely not your fault that this is happening.
Right, but
Absolutely.
he still feels like he could have made more money, like he isn't quite understanding like why people didn't attend, or why isn't he making the same thing he made last year.
Yeah,
Mm.
and it usually just boils down to that. Yeah.
So, how do you guys, when things like this happen, and I know you may have to anxiety, you may have the depression, you may have the mood swings.
No, it's
Um,
usually not boiled down to that. It's usually boiled down to like the location of the event. I definitely think
No,
we can
she's
get.
saying what you feel is like all of
how do
these.
you manage? Yep. How do you manage
How do I
when these?
manage?
Yeah.
Um, well, can't starve. You got to make money. So
So I think he uses that as a way of trying to deal with it. So it's masking it with sarcasm. It's masking it without, like it's just part of it. But it really, he really takes it internal, because sometimes I may be doing much better on sales than he is, and that also affects him. Like why am I not getting customers? And it's not that. I think right now when we had the government shutdown, that
Mm,
impacted us. People were more worried about food than they are buying, gifts or toys, things like that. So I think there was just an accumulation of things happening that caused the events that we normally would do decrease
okay.
in customers. And so he's thinking this should be the same way as last year,
Mm,
and not really understanding like all of that impact, because he doesn't, like, it's an emotional thing. Like as adults we can internalize and say, well, this is why we're rationalizing and saying this is a potential problem for a lot of
yeah.
people at this
Mm,
current time, where
mm,
he's thinking, why aren't the customers coming? So Nathaniel doesn't realize when he's in those moods. We can see it because we see him every day. So we can see when he is feeling like upset, like like depressed because he didn't make money and he has to pay bills because he buys inventory.
yeah.
So, he's always feeling like I have to make money, whether he's going to sell it online, he's going to use a different avenue, go to a brick and mortar store and sell his product that he needs. He feels I have to pay this bill, which is one
Right.
thing he learned by this,
Okay.
was making sure that he pays, if it's people first. If it's his credit card first. If it's his bank, it's his bank. So that I think Nathaniel has learned and mastered.
So he understands to manage his money. Knows how to manage his money.
Yes, yes.
Good.
Probably more than me, and I worked in accounting. But but yes, and I think it's because he really looks into, like, oh, how is it going to impact me? He wants to have like this score of 700 on his. I'm looking at him like, Nathaniel. Like this is his mindset though. Like he wants to be up there. And he knows he has the potential to do it. He
Hmm.
just doesn't understand like all the impending things that happen before you get there.
Okay.
And I don't think he can even express it, like, because he feels it but can't still express it.
Hmm. Okay.
So
So you guys, if any of you are viewing from any of the groups, make sure you click on the video that'll bring you to our live chat here on our main Facebook page. And please, as you come in, excuse me, please make sure you feel free to share. And if you have any questions, make sure you throw them in the chat. So, Nathaniel, let me ask you, let's move away a little bit and go to general socialization. What does fitting in look like for you? Um, do you like being around others and meeting new people?
yeah, I would definitely think it's a really good thing to meet others, especially if they don't like see the impediments of just generally being labeled. You know what I
Right.
mean? I
Okay.
think the more that people see me as a person rather than as a label, then I think I'd be more accepted. You know what I mean? But
Okay.
in these scenarios, I think it's always going to be the label. You know what I mean?
Mm, okay. Okay. So, what advice would you give other adult autistic adults
I
um,
would definitely think.
especially when it comes to trying something new. What
I would
advice?
definitely think there are easier ways of doing things. There's always harder ways of doing things. But
Okay.
in this world, you have to do. If it's something that you have to do, then you have to do it. But if not, then the only risk that stops you is yourself.
Okay. So you tell them to go for it. Don't be afraid to try.
Otherwise, you'll just be stuck and you won't be able to leave.
Mhm. So,
And
Mom,
I
what do
think it's
you
good that
say?
he meets other people.
Yeah.
Like he'll go
Mhm.
out with his sister, you know, it's always like, Nathaniel's of age of drinking.
Okay.
So, he's tried that out. Whether I like it or not, he's still an adult. He's with
Mm.
his sister.
Yeah, I could be an
You know,
alcoholic.
I would hope that they would watch him,
Yeah. Yeah.
but do is that the kind of experience I want him to have? No, but if he won't know what it's like.
Hmm.
And I think he's got a good mindset to be able to know, okay, I tried it and that's enough. Just like with driving. I mean,
Yeah,
now
definitely going to Mexico, I could just go out all out. You know, what I mean, there were a lot less restrictions when going with that.
In
so like
Mexico?
traveling.
Oh,
Like
Right.
he went to Mexico. He was out there for a couple of months. He was traveling with his dad, and that I was more in fear. Like, oh my god, did he get to the? Is he on the plane? Did he not? Arrive in Mexico and not to another country.
right.
Those are uh, worries as a parent.
Of course. Yes.
But for them there's no fear factor, so they're like, I'm getting on the plane and I'm going when he can read, he can speak, we
Were you
so
afraid, Nathaniel?
Hmm?
Did you have any fear when you no?
Other than being, well, I guess it really wasn't. They mostly wheeled me in and out of that, out of the airport. Really, there
Good.
wasn't really mostly walking. It was just them ordering.
his dad
Yeah.
the last year his dad thought, okay, just to make sure, because
Well, I mean,
it
it was you
was
too. You ordered it too.
no, I didn't, but anyway, that it would be better if instead of him walking all through the airport in Mexico, that he would emphasize that he's, has autism, and because of his spine, they got him a wheelchair. So they wheelchaired him all the way to the
Okay.
plane. We
Okay.
were relieved because we knew he was getting on the plane, but he just felt like, really, did you need to do that? But is that because
Wow.
on the airplane in Mexico, most of them speak Spanish.
Okay.
So Nathaniel doesn't speak Spanish. And I know that
Okay.
they would have to get an interpreter in many cases. So we just thought
Mhm.
it's easier to
Mhm.
do it. But he was really upset. Like, did you really have to do that? Like,
Why, Mom? Why?
It's always just sort of labels with that.
right. So Nathaniel doesn't want to be a label because he keeps saying it, right? He
Yeah, I
wants to
hear.
be, he wants to be,
Be sort of truly accepted. You know what I mean? So it's just always hard when conforming. You know what I mean? It's almost like being vegan. You know what I mean? You go to a place, you kind of have to you have to say veganism. You know what I mean with that. But there's always that type of person that always reinstates it over and over and over, and by doing that, it makes the person less, I guess you can call it. You know what I mean? It's a sort of labeling that makes it very hard to see everything else besides the person. You know what I mean?
here's how it started. My business card had
Uh-huh.
um, autism parent
Okay.
because I represent, right?
Hmm.
And they go, oh, really? Like, who's, who are you, putting this out for? And I always say my son because I'm proud, right?
Yeah.
But he does. He looks at me and he goes, really, Mom, did you really have to do that? Now, he just feels that people look at him differently once you say something like that.
Yeah.
I look at it as,
But,
I'm proud of all your
uh-huh.
accomplishments and achievements. That's
But
not something for you
they
to
will
shy behind,
they
but it's
will
the
think
interpretation.
differently when you speak to them. We
Yes,
want to change
exactly.
we want to change the world's view
Right.
of you. So once you speak to them, You're
But Nita,
changing
it's
their
educating people. The moment you say autistic, they
change their perspective of you. And
right.
usually I try to have to angle myself in the event so that way when people interact with me, I'm usually the first one they interact with and mom's second, and not usually the other way around. Because usually when she first says that I have autism, then it usually turns into, hey, how you doing? You know what I mean? The
Speak
type of
louder,
no, not really. It's more like, talking to me almost like I'm a child. You know what I mean? And it's usually that's why I usually have to angle myself first, because I would always have to be like, hey, my name's Nathaniel. You know what I mean? Not like, hey, how you doing, Nathaniel? You know what I mean? That type of over childlike, what I mean, talk to. It's not fun, you know what I mean? Especially since I have a higher cognitive ability. Yes, I try to be, you know what I mean? But it's just in and out. It's not fun in the end.
and that's where educating others come in, because they have in their mind, like, they picture somebody, I don't know, crazy or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And not
It's
everybody
the
is the same.
right.
misinterpretation. I think it
Everyone's
is.
different.
I definitely think it is, especially when starting out with certain information first. You know what I mean?
So, Nathaniel, tell me, where do you see yourself in the future personally and business wise? What do you see yourself doing in about 5 to 10 years from now?
I'm hoping for a lot of things. I'm hoping I'm able to get a cargo van, a nice new house, a place where I can grow a family and everything. I really am hoping that I'm able to actually have, a more independent experience compared to, current standards. You know what I mean?
Okay. So, Dinah, what was it like watching Nathaniel growing up and um, searching
Well,
for his identity into adulthood? What was it like? Or what has it been like? Because
well,
he's still,
it has been challenging for me because, letting go. I
mhm,
think we do this for all our kids, but
yeah.
specifically, like for me, for Nathaniel, I'm more watchful. I'm more, like I'm wring my hands. Like, okay, what are you gonna do? Like, what do where are you going?
I have a lot of plans, I hope.
And for me, it's letting go and hoping that he makes good decisions, for himself. And he does have, like, if they're not dreams, I know that he'll succeed little by little. But I think my hardest struggle is letting go, is believing in him when he says, this is what I want to do. Now, growing up, it was obsessions. I mean, when he was younger, he'd watch those infomercials, and he'd come, Mom, they're starving people in Africa. We got to send them money. And Mom, there's, all these things happening. And I was like, they don't understand. I got to work too. We'll be with a working homeless soon if you keep want to send all that money. But so, like we didn't find out about him being autistic until about 10 or 11. But
Okay.
growing up as a child, he had quirks. And because you love your kids, you love your child, you just kind of accept it, right?
Right.
Like the lining up things and repetitive viewing, and of whether it was music or videos or just things like that. You just kind of say, even my husband would say, why does he eat like that? Because he'd have a burger and he'd separate everything. And so and I'd say, well, what do you care for? He's eating it. It'd be the bun first, or he'll take the cheese off, and then just in a
Yeah.
sequence in his mind.
Mm,
And then, you know, like, in the back of your mind, like something is not quite right.
yeah.
The problem with him is that academic wise, he was meeting goals.
Okay.
So, we were, it was hard for the school to say, well, he needs help somewhere, when he wasn't behind. And I think they were more into academics than they were anything else. But he had social problems, um, even at home, even with his siblings. So you did see, like, he was off to his own world. He could be in a crowd and he's on his phone, he's doing his own thing. He engages when he feels like it, and then kind of forgets everybody's in the room. kind of thing. But once we got the diagnosis, it was like everything started to click into place. Like, like, okay, now I'm understanding. And it really took me an effort to find out everything that I possibly could about autism.
Yeah.
Because I really didn't know anybody with autism. And of course, you do sit back and you go, okay, what does that look like?
Right.
He wasn't showing, well, I can't say he wasn't stimming, because he does this still, is crack his neck all the time, his knuckles.
Okay.
And he used to like do this flap like like a dinosaur, a raptor. And
Mm.
we just thought, okay, well, that's just being him being silly. But that was him self-regulating. Those were things that I learned that he was doing for him to help himself in situations that he felt not in control. I
Okay.
think now Nathaniel understands more about self-control.
Hmm.
Not, and I think that with him, he kind of learned to adapt to specific things, not really understanding why he needed to, but doing it. And I think that's all part of, Asperger's is what he was diagnosed with originally. Then it
Okay.
changed with the new laws, and it changed to autism. For him,
Yeah.
it's a level 1. Then we were able to get all the services that he needed for socialization.
Okay.
So I wasn't able to get an IEP back then, but I did get an IEP for him once we got the diagnosis. And then it was because there's that educational IEP, and then
Mm.
there's a second one that comes in for behavior social. And so he got his IEP based on that.
Okay.
And that all it did, he had the same classes, but it was in a smaller group setting,
Mm.
allotted more time for testing.
Mm.
So he did have some advantage to all that. Plus, we were able then to get like a therapist. Then we were able to get him on medication that would help him with the mood swings and help him with the depression and things that kind of all come together from
Right.
not knowing what you have. And he knew he was different. I think
Mm.
now he knows he's still different, but he wants to be normal.
He doesn't want that label.
Right. He doesn't he
Yeah.
doesn't like the label. I
Hmm.
think that once people that know him that
Hmm.
didn't know he was autistic would be
Hmm.
like, really, Nathaniel? We wouldn't even know. But, and it makes him feel better because he's like, okay, I must be somewhat normal. Like, people don't
Hmm.
understand, like, what autism really is. And it really takes
Right.
all of us to re educate people because they have a totally different perspective of what,
Right. They
and
see it.
they don't understand that even people with autism can be artists, can
Mm.
be, they can be entrepreneurs, they can be so many things and not fit that label that they might have in their mind.
Right.
And that's what I tell Nathaniel all the time. You are who you are,
Hmm.
and you're doing a lot of things that most people aren't there yet.
Hmm.
Right.
So I'm always proud. And I always say, well, that's my son. That's who I'm representing. And he looks at me like, why did you have to do
Don't do that,
that?
mom.
Because he doesn't understand how proud I am of him.
Uh-huh. Yes,
But
your mom is very proud of you, Nathaniel. I can attest to that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, what has for both of you, but Dinah, what has this journey with Nathaniel taught you about um, the independence as him being an adult with autism?
Well, it's always going to be my struggle with letting go.
Okay.
And that is my biggest thing. I worry that he's going to get taken advantage of. I worry that like I said, he has girls that come up to him, they're interested in stuff, but I don't think he can establish an age,
Right. Right.
and so
Well,
I have.
she says that, you know what I mean? She's the one that sort of does
Well,
that with
they
us.
initiate conversation with him, but sometimes you have to worry. Some of them look young, and so I have to look at that. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah. Yeah.
And say I think she's like get involved in the conversation to like move
Right.
them along. And then there's older women that you think, I think you're a little bit too old for my son. You know, even men too. So we're not
Yeah.
working there. And he doesn't see that reaction. That's the thing too.
So,
But
what advice would you give to other parents who
I
struggle
think,
with letting go and
well,
trust?
I think it's a decision that you as a parent has to make based on
Mhm.
what you know about your child.
Yeah.
Like you have to.
My whole thing is that I'm only selling. There is no other thing that I'm doing for it. I am just vending. You know what I mean?
Right. Well,
She
and
makes it seem like it's a whole big issue
well,
to
no,
just
it's
sell
not
and
just
vend.
vending. It's
No.
But
going
it's
out
just, you know
to
what I
a
mean?
party.
Just to clarify, in the end of the day, it's just vending. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, we
She just
understand that,
so
Right, but
Nathaniel.
we're talking about the
right,
socialization,
Yeah.
like out
right.
to a
Socially,
bar, a
the only
party.
reason why I vend is to vend.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
go out and do other things, Mom, and I don't know why you want to.
And
I mean,
No,
Nathaniel,
we're
I
talking about
asked
like,
her about
but when
socialization.
people come to the stand, their whole main thing is to purchase, is to buy. I try to
right,
make it an enclosed environment to do that. I don't
right.
make it,
But
you know what I mean?
we're not talking about just that. We're talking about like social
Yeah.
Right, a
environments
social environment,
Other
an
social
event. I'm
settings.
working. I'm not looking to.
outside of vending,
Right, I
like
know,
a
but it's
party, like going to a bar to meet
right.
your
Going to a
sister.
party or going to a bar is a lot different than vending at a different event.
Well, that's what we're talking
Vending at
about.
an event, I don't. This is a professional thing, but
Right.
going to a bar or party is a whole different type of an event. I'm not going to.
Well, that's
Uh,
Nathaniel. That's what I was asking, Mom.
right, you know, what I mean, it's very hard on that
How are
side to
you?
be,
No, no, no,
labeled.
no,
You know, what
no.
I mean, it's kind of
How
counterintuitive
I
to
was
do that.
So,
I was
but
I was
welcome to my
asking her
world.
how are you
This is like a perfect example of when I say, "Well, I'm not sure if you should go or that's the right thing." We would have to compromise. You know, I have to listen to what he's saying because maybe he's misinterpreting what
Yeah.
my expectations are, right? Like
Mhm.
I don't want to make him feel like, "Oh, you're going to go out there and do drugs and drink and do all these things." Like he's not that
Right,
way.
right,
So
right.
I don't look at him that way, but
Mhm.
he's a perfect example of just a teenager. And
Yeah.
even if they're 18 and 19, where they're going to argue
Right.
about you, like, what do you think? I'm going to be driving off with my.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
just really,
So
just
some
really
of the
think
things
some things
that
could just be laid away.
I
with
think that some things are just not that part of their age.
Right. Oh
you
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And, but
That's
the one
part
thing
of
I can say is
growing
that
up.
we
What can you
trust
do?
Nathaniel.
Hmm.
And that's important. That if he gets in the car, I know he's not going to have a bunch of friends in there and they're going to be speeding and they're going to be doing all drinking and doing all these things. He's got a good group of kids that he's had since they were in kindergarten. And
Well, that's
the
awesome.
issue with that is that they always like seek out Nathaniel, like, hey, how you doing, Nathaniel, or doing things. Part of that executive function that you don't seem to think that you have to continue. Like you should be able to say, "Hey, how are you
I
doing?"
think it's more personal.
So,
I
but
think that's
I
definitely more
think
like
if you have
personal
trust in
thing.
your child, you know that they're uh
Not personal.
are able to, right?
Yeah.
Not everybody is able to venture out and kind of look at things in a different way. But definitely if you trust your child and they want to try something new that is not
Right.
going to be harmful to themselves or others, that I would let them try it.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
even though it's hard to let go, sometimes you have to, that's their growth.
Yeah. You have
Experience
to give
things.
them that independence.
Yes.
Yeah. You
Otherwise,
definitely
I'm
do.
not going to be around forever. He needs to be able to live on his own, right?
I'm hoping I can do
Yeah.
that.
And so I can't be hovering over him thinking, oh my God, something, is going to happen to him without him understanding, okay, are you being taken advantage of? So watching him at the events is my ability to see, okay, he handled that good. Like he's doing better with saying no to something when somebody wants to say, hey, sell it to me for this price. And he's like, no, I can't really do that. So he is learning.
Okay.
To take that independence on without me going, hey, he can't do that. So he is taking care of that. Again, anybody that has a child that is of age, 21, are with friends, and even I would say I'm not supporting drinking. I'm not supporting going to places like that. But for Nathaniel, he'll go with his sisters or going to a party. They're going to watch him. They're going to make sure that he's not in a situation that is harmful to himself.
Yeah. I just wish it was.
Well, that's good. He
So,
has others to watch over him.
yes,
Even.
yes.
Yeah.
But I don't want to take that his ability to be able to go to it. I mean, he's 21.
Right.
For
Right.
him never to say I stepped in, even if it's a play pool or darts or whatever,
Yeah,
he's
I
there.
He's an adult, so
Right, right.
yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
mean, technically he can just say, I'm going to do it anyway because
Yeah.
So I'm glad he doesn't.
I shouldn't use
But,
them.
So how do you handle it when Nathaniel has too much confidence in doing something
well,
where it might
that's
not
much
be a good
harder.
idea?
That's much harder to have a dialogue about with him because he's already has his mindset. So it
Okay.
really is trying to, I don't want to say argue, but it's really like, okay, can you just try to see it in my point of view?
Right.
And sometimes he could be very facetious and, not be understanding, but I think it's sometimes the way he describes it or is saying what he wants to do that could be misinterpreted. So I really have to like bring myself down, kind of sit back, maybe have a cup of coffee, take my high blood pressure medicine, the whole 9 yards to
Take
really
a
listen
couple
to what
deep
he has.
breaths.
Right. I mean, to listen, because it's very easy as a parent to like go to the top
Yeah.
because you're thinking, what do you mean you want to do something like that?
Mhm.
But once he can describe it when we're calmed down, because we do get into arguments a lot because we don't see eye to eye, but he's this person. I can't make him think like I think.
Right. Exactly.
So sometimes it's really just sitting down and listening to what he has to say in a different perspective. We're not mad at each other, we're not yelling at each other, and we can sit down and he'll say, because Nathaniel is the type of person that he's a supporter. So
Okay.
Nathaniel, when if I'm having an argument with my daughter, whatever, he'll step in and try to be like the referee to calm us both down. So he has that
Oh, that's
ability,
awesome.
to
That's very
be able to
personal for me.
talk us off the ledge, right, and
Mhm.
and vice versa.
Mhm.
So he's very passive,
Okay.
and tries to explain himself. And when we're like that, then I can see his point of view.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
still may not agree with it, but it's his logic. Like I will give him the pros and cons of what he wants to do because
Mhm.
there's consequences to everything, right?
Oh yeah.
So he has to know what the consequences are for him to make a decision. But if I really am against it, then I'm against it.
Mhm.
And we just have to battle it out until he understands my thinking behind why I think he shouldn't do something.
Okay.
I mean, all I can say to Nathaniel, if you drink, you're on medication, and that's something you shouldn't do, right?
Right.
I just
Or
wish it sort of stayed
or
private in terms of like the drinking aspect.
so I say, okay, that's just me saying it. Now, if you're gonna go and have a drink with your sister at their house and there's no driving, then don't take your meds for that night.
Okay.
But I mean, it's not something I always encourage, right?
Right.
But
Right. But you got to give
I
them that
cannot treat him like a
independence.
child.
Right. Exactly.
I have to give him that independence to say, okay, although I don't, when they're together as siblings and stuff, I think that's out of my age. That's out of
Mhm.
my age group. So I let them go chill out together. They're siblings. They play cards. They do whatever at the house. So I don't get involved. Like I try to explain to them that I'm too old to associate with your friends. And so that he understands that I do put a limit to where I'm going to go. Like to
Right.
give you that independence, to make sure that you know that I trust you.
Mhm.
So yeah, when he goes out with his friends, whether it's to the show he's letting me know that he'll be back. I said, just let me know, what time you'll be back. And then we're cool about that. But that's a trust that you really have to trust your child to make
Yeah.
sure that, they're not easily coaxed
Right.
when they're
That's
out of
the
your
one thing
sight.
you have to worry about. Other people is what you have to worry about,
Right.
basically.
And that's what he doesn't understand. Like,
Hmm.
he's like, you're always looking at it like
You go upstairs.
something bad can happen. I'm like,
You go upstairs.
well, you have to know sometimes where your surroundings are. I mean, like he does DoorDash.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
I'm on pins and needles. Like where's this taking you? But he does that, and I let him do that too. Not saying that I let him. He's got his car.
Okay.
This is a choice he's making, like to help himself earn a little extra money to help
Okay.
him pay his bills. So he is a go-getter.
Well, good. Good.
But I just
So,
tell him, I say, you don't know all of Chicago, so there's some places we don't want you. I wouldn't go.
right. 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 Some
There's
places
no
you
fear
don't.
factor, so he just,
So, for both of you, what does success within your family during this journey? What does success look like for you, family and business wise, for both of you?
well, I think, for me, I see my main concern is my son, right? Because my girls, I mean, obviously I love them and stuff, but my concern was always to see Nathaniel through, right? Like I knew that I would reach an age where, okay, longevity plays a big factor, and I wanted to make sure that Nathaniel was going to get taken care of. But he is taking care of himself, and
Okay.
I'm glad that I'm able to see it, to help him move along. And like he
Mhm.
said himself, he wants to get a house. He eventually wants to have a family. You know, that's part of independence. I want him to experience having a relationship.
Yeah.
Does it worry me? Of course, because I don't want someone taking advantage of him. And so, do I have to, like I have to just constantly tell them, make sure you ask how old they are, and you know,
Hmm.
really how old they are. Even though Nathaniel's going to be 22, he still fills in that category between 18 and 21, right?
Hmm.
But you have girls who look older and
Oh
aren't
yeah.
older, and he wouldn't be able to gauge that.
Right.
So
So
I see success knowing that I can see Nathaniel moving towards his goals and not giving
okay.
him, like, not supporting him totally, like letting him make his mistakes, because we all make mistakes, um,
Yes.
and then supporting him in his business. That's what he likes. I
Hmm.
need a warehouse, of course. That's why he said he wants his own. He wants his own home, because he wants to be able to have his stuff. But that's something good. We all want our
Yep.
kids,
Yep.
and he is talking about going back to school to
Uh,
complete his engineering. So I think
okay.
that once he figured out business, now I think school is next.
Okay. Awesome. So, what message do you hope other families with autistic young adults takes away from this tonight?
Well, I would like to say that support is the biggest thing for a young adult. And I think if you can help them figure out like where they want to be, what interests they have, um, and I'm just talking more of if they're in the level one. Obviously, if they're in other levels, it's much more difficult,
Hmm.
for them. But there are support groups, and there are a lot of things that we can do for our kids who are not at a level one, that need a
Yeah.
little bit more help, to get where they need to go. But even if they're nonverbal, they have interest. I see DeAndre all the time. I mean, he's an artist, he's a musician, he's a boxer, he's a whole.
Man of
I mean,
many
so if
talents.
we can encourage our kids to continue doing something like that, you never know. So I
Right.
would say support and provide them with an avenue for them to show who they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that would be my guess. My
So,
my best wishes for them.
so let us we're nearing the end here, but tell us a little more about the business and where we can find you guys.
Nathaniel, his business is Hammer Treasure, and he's on Facebook as Nathaniel Guzman, but he has Snapchat,
Yeah.
and TikTok, I believe, under what?
Hammer treasure.
Under Hammered Treasure, but it's Hammered underscore
Yep,
Treasure.
I have that scrolling at the bottom of the screen here. So you guys make sure you give Nathaniel a follow. I have the
Mm-hmm.
TikTok and the Instagram, I think, scrolling at the
Yeah.
bottom. And what type of items can
So
they find?
Nathaniel does he's a collector of Pokemon cards,
Okay.
comic books,
Oh,
Funko Pops, vintage toy items. I mean, sports characters, or I mean, it's a whole lot of stuff that he collects. But
okay.
on his the Aztec whistles, those he goes to Mexico and gets, so they're
Oh,
imported.
wow.
But
Okay.
he has a lot of product. When people come to see his shelving area, they see the abundance of products he has, and so only he can tell you, like, the year, the model, the make. I'm just like, I'm just like, he's busy, but he'll be with you in a moment.
Okay. Okay. That's awesome.
Mhm.
Well, Dinah, we appreciate you guys joining us this evening. Thank you, as always. I
Thank you.
appreciate you. And I
Thank
hope you guys can join us again for another interview. Maybe we can have a little more a mom's interview. Maybe I'll get a couple of us moms up here again so we can have a chit chat about something.
Yes.
About
Very true.
something.
Well, it's always a pleasure
Hmm.
to welcome you into our home, our lives. Like you say, the good, the bad, the ugly, right? So you
Yes.
get a little, you
Yes.
see a little bit of our rapport here, but it's real life, right?
Yep. Real life. Real life.
Yes.
But anyway, thank you. And let Nathaniel know I said thank you. I appreciate him. And please, you guys, don't forget to give Nathaniel a follow and check out some of the items he has to offer.
Yes. I mean, he ships too. So,
Oh, he ships. Okay. Yep,
yes.
because
Yeah.
you guys are in the Chicago area. So, but
Yes.
they ship. So check them out, you guys. And until tomorrow night, we're going to have Aisha Purcell from Miss B's Consulting LLC. So make sure you guys tune in at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another episode of Spotlight on Autism. Okay, until next time, you guys, have a great night.
Thanks.
Happy
Bye.
holidays.
Yes. Happy holidays.
Okay, bye bye.